Hello there, and welcome to the do's and don'ts of small talk. Today we're going to be going over a normal small talk scenario and going over what you should and maybe shouldn't do in that scenario. Conversations have to start somewhere, and most of them begin with a simple handshake. This easy, physical gesture is a great way to spark conversation. This is the model handshake shown here. As you can see, there's a firm grasp and moving the hand up and down in a repeated pattern. Then again, these are the do's and don'ts of small talk, so there are a couple things that you really shouldn't do when first starting to talk to someone. For example, this hug is invasive of personal space and not allowed. It's also equally uncomfortable if you don't do anything at all. For example, staring at them from a couple feet away makes people very afraid. Now that you've got the introduction out of the way, it's time for the conversation to actually get started. Let's say someone goes ahead and asks you, "Hey, how are you feeling?" That would not be a good time to mention your recent kidney surgery. Nuh-uh. Instead, you would take the time to think of a good, socially acceptable response. In small talk, it's usually a good idea to bring up your surroundings when trying to continue a conversation. In this case, both of our friends Chris and Jen are in an elevator. So let's see how Chris handles the situation. Here, Jen could tell him that she's heading to the Eggplant Appreciation Society, but instead she uses strategic flexibility and simply says the third floor. The interesting thing about small talk is that you can talk about virtually anything, because it doesn't really matter what you say and life is meaningless. Here's a really quick example of our friend Chris talking about literally absolutely nothing. Here we see Jen going off on a tangent about that weather question, but here's the cool thing about small talk. No one cares! No one's even listening! Sometimes it's a good thing to get people in that kind of tangent, because then they're doing all the talking, and you don't have to do anything. A good way to do this is asking someone where they're from. Wasn't that just a lovely conversation? I think these two are really getting the hang of it. Let's see how they finish up the rest of this small talk. Well, looks like the elevator door is opening. Time to say goodbye. Goodbye, Chris. Goodbye, former Vice President Dick Cheney. And a special goodbye to you, the viewer. I hope you've learned a lot about the do's and don'ts of small talk, and the next time you're in an elevator, you'll know exactly what to say and how to continue in your small talk adventure. Goodbye now.